28th February 2022 Jackson County Commission meeting. I'd like to welcome everyone here. One quick note before we start, congratulations to the Skyline girls for their win today, Final Four. And best of luck to our two remaining teams, the Pistol girls and the section boys, as they compete in the Final Four games. At this time, I'd like to call roll to establish a quorum.
Commissioner Rich.
Present.
Commissioner Venable.
Present.
Commissioner Buckner.
Present.
Commissioner McBride.
Present.
We do have a quorum. Thank you very much. And at this time, if we would all stand, I'd like to ask Mr. Porter, our county attorney, to please offer invocation, and I will do the same with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let's pray. God our Father, we're blessed. What a wonderful day this is, the beautiful sunshine, the warm weather. We're thankful for that. It's a pretense of spring. We're glad to see that, God. Thank you for all the blessings you give us. We pray especially right now for those in harm's way in the Ukraine, and we just pray for peace, but not peace at any cost. We pray that cooler heads can prevail and that war can be ended quickly. God, we also pray for those that are traveling today to see our basketball teams play. We pray for safety for them. We pray for sportsmanlike conduct on all that participate. We will pray you will watch over us and guide us every day. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen. Attention, salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
In your packet is agenda, and it does show some recommended modifications to this agenda. First modification is we completed some hiring committee activities, and we have a couple of recommendations for hire. So the modification would include addition of the motion to approve hiring committee's recommendation for the vacant shop supervisor position at Public Works. Also, the addition of a motion to approve hiring committee's recommendation for a vacant EA2 position at Public Works Department. And thirdly, in our Friday work session, we discussed approving a grant for replacement of roll-up doors at our rescue squad building. And so in the amended agenda is an addition of a motion to approve and sign a resolution awarding a $30,000 grant to the Scottsboro Jackson County Rescue Squad to replace the roll-up doors on the rescue squad building. Do I have a motion to approve our February 28th agenda with amendments as recommended?
I'll make the motion to approve with those amendments.
I'll second.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Unanimously approved. Do we have any awards or presentations? If none, do we have anyone here for public comment?
No, sir.
No? If not, we will then move into our new business portion of our meeting. Several items to be covered here. We do have items in your packet for each of these. First new business is the adoption of the minutes as provided from the February the 7th, 2022 work session and February 14th, 2022 meeting. Those are in your packet for review. At this time, do I have a motion to adopt the minutes as provided from the February 7th, 2022 work session and February 14th, 2022 meeting?
I'll make the motion.
A motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? If no further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Next in your packet, you have a interlocal agreement between the city of Scottsboro and the county of Jackson. The city of Scottsboro applied for a grant for VEST, And that grant was awarded, but the requirement was that it be equally shared between the Jackson County Sheriff's Department and the Scottsboro Police Department. In the package is the proposed agreement. An agreement is made between the Sheriff's Department and the Scottsboro Police Department. And that agreement states that the division of costs will fairly compensate the performing party for the services or functions under the agreement. The county share of the grant is $7,402.50 for the JAG award. The county believes it's in the best interest to allow the city to retain the county share of the funds for execution of the contract, and then the county will receive their equal share of the best to be procured. So with that, do I have a motion to approve and sign the interlocal agreement with the city of Scottsboro for Justice Assistant Grant Program Award?
I make that motion.
We have a motion, do I have a second?
No, second.
I have a second, any discussion? No further discussion, all in favor say aye. Motion carries, thank you very much. Also, in your packet is a resolution for model policies and procedures applicable to federal awards. This has been provided to us to the Investing Alabama counties as the policy that we should and procedure we should follow as we award ARPA funds to either government service activities or infrastructure programs such as water, sewer, gas, or broadband or others. The policy that you see provides for that the county expenditure of federal funds will be administered in accordance with these policies. That is here is addendum 1 to the resolution. And the policy, this policy supplements, but does not supplant the state of Alabama's current purchasing and procurement procedures. If you read through this policy, you see that it applies to such things as travel, conflict of interest, general procedures, competition, procurement methods, contract pricing, bonding requirements, compensation for services and contract provisions. And it also provides guidance in terms of procurement of equipment and supplies. And so fairly extensive policy that they are asking that we are stating that we need to adopt as for our expenditure of ARPA funds. So with that, do I have a motion to approve and sign the resolution on the model policies and procedures applicable to federal awards?
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Do you have a motion? Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a second. Any further discussion?
The discussion, just to clarify, this is just for the ARPA money, or does this include any federal money that comes from this point forward?
The IAC is proposing that we use this in the execution of the ARPA funds, but I would suggest to you as you read this that if we get into other federal fund activities that we are probably going to get the same kind of requirement to execute those contracts and administering those funds following federal policy and guidelines.
And to me, I see this as a safeguard as the money goes out to be able to know the guidelines for what can and can't be spent on. So,
Is this a stock? I assume it's a stock policy that the IAC is putting out to all counties that you joined the IAC, nothing specific to Jackson County.
Exactly. Any further discussion? No further discussion. All in favor, say aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Also, in your packet is a request from Colby Gannon, our maintenance director, he is requesting a 6-month extension for Ms. Donna Grider as our temporary custodian in the maintenance department.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, we
I'll
have a
second.
motion, we have a second.
I'll
Any
second.
discussion? No discussion, all in favor say aye.
Thank you,
Motion
Mr. Rogers.
carries, thank you. We now have several hiring requests or recommendations rather. In your packet is a letter from our county engineer. And it is a letter of recommendation for the hiring of 2 HMT2s at Public Works. Do I have a motion to approve hiring committee's recommendation of promotions for 2 employees to HM2 at Public Works Department?
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a second, any discussion? No discussion, all in favor say aye. Motion carries. Also in the packet is from the direct request from the director of our Jackson County Council on Aging is a hiring recommendation to fill an open Bridgeport Nutrition Center manager position at our Jackson County Council on Aging facility there. It is for a position, the position is a grade 2 step 1 position.
I make the motion, we approve the,
Okay, we have
All
a
right.
motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? No discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries, thank you. Next in your packet is a very recent results of hiring committees. One is, we have 2 letters here. One is for the hiring committee's recommendation for a vacant shop supervisor position. The other is the hiring committee's recommendation for a vacant EA2 position, both at Public Works. Excuse me, first in your packet is the letter of recommendation for the vacant supervisory position. Pay grade to be set at a grade 10, step 3. Do I have a motion to approve the hiring committee's recommendation for a vacant shop supervisor position at Public Works?
I make that motion.
We have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Have a second, any discussion? No further discussion, all in favor say aye. Motion carries. Also, the letter is there for the EA2 position. At this time, do I have a motion to approve the hiring committee's recommendation for the vacant EA2 position at Public Works?
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion, have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Have a second. Any further discussion? No further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries, thank you. The last, in your packet is the discussion, one of the discussions regarding the use of American Rescue Plan Act funding that we had at our recent work session this past Friday. And attached to this resolution is the letter of request from Mr. Eddie T., the captain at the Scottsboro Jackson County Rescue Squad. And this request is for $30,000 of ARPA money to fund the replacement of 4 roll-up doors in the old National Guard Armory building on Cedar Hill Drive. And this is used as our rescue squad building, and when there is an overflow need for a facility for us to do testing for COVID, test, as well as any other testing needs that we may have. We need to have an expansion from our Highlands Medical Center Hospital. This building will be used. The current doors are old, quite old, that are unsafe and difficult to operate. So the request of these funds is to be able to replace those funds so it will be a safer, more accessible facility to conduct those kind of testing as needed.
I make the motion that we award this grant, and I'd like to extend a thank you to the rescue squad for helping in the situation that, back when we had vaccines going out, and they were very good to offer their building, and it came in very handy.
I'll second that
Do we have
motion.
a second?
I'll
Yeah,
second.
Second.
Okay, we have a second. Any further discussion?
I just want to echo Commissioner Venable's sentiments there. We all pulled together, and I think certainly groups like the Rescue Squad did more than their fair share. Thankful for
But I also would say, I think we would all agree with that. Our thanks to them, not just for what they do here and offering that service, but everything they do. And they're the volunteers that stand by 24 hours a day to serve our community. If no further discussion, all in favor say aye.
them.
Motion carries. Thank you very much. At this point, we'll move into the work session portion of our meeting. We have several discussion items. First item is testing voting machines. Okay. Let me, we will wait just a moment until we get our speaker on this issue. While we're waiting, just a few comments here that every year that we go into the voting process, election process, our voting machines have to be tested. We do have some new machines this year that has a new testing procedure. And so the recommendation from Mr. Manning, probate judge, as well as our EMA director, Paul Smith, is that to conduct these testings and follow the procedures that we require for testing, that and given the number of machines that we will have to test for compliance, that we hire an additional individual to help us with that process. So we will take a pause until we get the individuals here. Okay, so as not to delay any further, that the individual that they would like to bring on to assist in the testing machines is Mr. Mike Ashford.
He's coming.
I think he is, they are on the way, okay? But I think he has been a member of the team that has tested our machines in years past. So they're on the way?
Victor's on his way. Supposed to.
Okay.
He was helping one of the fine citizens of Oak County.
Mr. Manning, we're at the point on the agenda where we're discussing the testing of our voting machines.
Sorry about that, I had somebody with me, I apologize. They're a little bit more important than you all, but that's okay.
Always.
So we're fixing to start another election cycle. And historically, what's happened in the past is Mike has helped do the testing of the voting machines, the public testing. You guys are all aware of that we have to do a public test prior to the election. They seal the machines after all that, assure that they're zeroed out. And we have to do that prior to every election. So he's done that as far back as I can remember getting elected. And I don't think Paul or Josh have played that role. So what I want to ask you guys to do is to vote, or whatever you all need to do to utilize Mike this cycle again. We'll have 3 different tests prior to the primary, prior to the runoff, and then prior to the general election. But that'll be to test the machines we have to do. And this year's going to be different. We got the new express vote machines. We had auto marks prior to, and we got the express votes this time. Those have to be tested differently. So they're actually going to be testing twice the amount of machines this time. So it's going to be more to it, but it'll be a really good time for Josh and Paul to get used to this process, because we're going to have an election in 2 more years. So that's what I'd like to ask you guys to consider doing that. And I don't know what makes it easier for y'all if you could just vote to use him for this cycle. That way you don't have to vote before the next election or whatever.
Okay.
And I might add also, I'm sorry, Mr. Nance, but I might add also, I do believe that this is an allowable expense that you can charge to get reimbursement on. I don't know what rates you get, so whatever might cost you, which will probably, I'm guessing somewhere in the range $2,000 to $3,000 per election, but you'll be able to bill that to the state, and you're going to get probably up to about 50% reimbursement from the state for the election, because I believe that everyone's going to have a federal election on it.
We've done this,
Any questions or comments?
we've done this in the past. Is it an hourly rate? I can't remember. Did he
I don't remember. I think in the past he'd done it somehow by machine.
by machine?
So this year, having to test the other machines, is going to be double. I think, and you might want to check with him, but I think $3,000 would absolutely be enough per election. That's per election. Now, I can't speak for him, but I guess I use that figure because I don't expect it to be over that.
If I remember right, the Secretary of State has put out a recommended schedule for conduct of these steps
Yes.
prior to the election.
They do. They said we get a calendar for every election cycle, and it tells the window when this public test can be held. You can't just pick a date to do it when you want to. It has to be held within so many days of the election. So we actually run that notice. They'll tell us what day they want to do it. We run the notice in the paper, so that the proper notice is given, and anybody that's. I don't think we may have had one person show up before for a public test. I don't know if that'll change this year. I know that we all know that there's been more scrutiny on elections in the process than there has before, so wouldn't surprise me if they actually have spectators when they do the machine.
Okay, with that, if we put this on the new business meeting for our next meeting, is that sufficient time?
Oh, absolutely. We got plenty enough time. I wanted to come early so that y'all wouldn't have to big rush, but yeah, there'll be plenty enough time if you do it at the next meeting.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Mr. Manning, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Sorry for my tardiness.
We'll let you get back to very pressing matters.
We'll go back, yeah.
Next up, in part of our work session agenda, we have 2 items of discussion here. County boat ramp safety and lighting. We have Director of Parks and Recreation, Mr. Cummings.
Have here with us today, we have Mr. Keith Henderson. He is with the Department or Division of Wildlife and Freshwater Fisheries with the state. I'll give you a little bit of background. We talked about this, of course, last week about the boat ramps, and Mr. Henderson wanted to address mainly 3 different things with you. One involves the maintenance of the boat ramps, which we are currently doing, some of which we have formal agreement with them to do, and some we don't, but we are still maintaining them. And he would like to look into getting a formal agreement to cover all of those, which there's no issue as far as the parks are concerned, or the county, I don't feel like, because most of it we're already doing anyway, so it really would just kind of formalize and get things organized in an agreement between us and the state for that. And also there's some projects that are in process that he wants to give you a couple of words about. One of them, I was just out at South Saudi Ramp today. They're building a very nice pavilion out there, the state, and they partnered with the town of Langston to do that. It's going to be a nice little addition out there, and there's a couple of other things, and then some potential new things that we might be able to do to partner with. One of which is some security lighting out at the Langston Road ramp, and maybe an expansion with a new ramp here. So it's okay. I'll let Mr. Henderson briefly talk with you for a minute.
Okay, thank you.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time today. As David said, my name is Keith Henderson. I'm with the Alabama Division of Wildlife and Freshwater Fisheries. I'm the Fisheries Development Coordinator, so I'm over our boating access program statewide. We have about 114 boat ramps statewide, and here in Jackson County, I believe we have 8 boat ramps that we manage and operate. We built them over the years, and we conduct the major maintenance out of them to keep them in operation, any major repairs we do. A couple of them we have maintenance agreements with you guys at, and a couple of them we don't. And as David said, that you guys are already doing the maintenance at. And we were just hoping we could enter into an agreement to shore this up long term, because the way our program really works is we utilize our funds to build and provide, and then we rely on cooperating partners to kind of maintain the facility as far as general upkeep, picking up trash, filling potholes, things like that we aren't really built to do. We have a 4-man crew that maintains 114 boat ramps statewide. So our goal is to provide, and then we rely on people that get a benefit from this, in most cases cities or towns or counties, to help us with the ordinary maintenance that we can't do. And with that in mind, we have several projects that we're doing currently in Jackson County. One of them that I'm hoping we're still able to do, we're going to expand Neat Creek Public Boat Ramp. We're partnering with the city of Scottsboro on that, pending potential funding issues on their end. But I'm going through some measures to try and keep the costs down to help them out, and continue to do that project. The pavilion at South Saudi, we also have done some ADA improvements at some boat ramps at Langston Road and at BB Comer. We made those facilities ADA compliant. And one big project that I'd really like to do is Mud Creek Public Boat Ramp is always filled up with people. Every time I'm there, it's completely filled up. I've worked with TVA and have potentially, I believe I have shored up access where we could build a boat ramp across the bridge from it. It's currently land that TVA owns that's leased to the Department of Conservation to our wildlife section. That property is kind of a thorn in their side because a lot of stuff goes on out there that shouldn't be going on. So I've worked with TVA, and we believe that we have crossed the bridges we need to be able to utilize that property for a public boat ramp and help take some pressure off of the existing ramp. But to do that, our packet outlines our program. Our program acts on a 75-25% matching basis. So whenever we build new facilities, we cover 75% of the cost. We just need a 25% in-kind match, and we need a maintenance agreement with it just to maintain it long term. But the kicker is that 25% match can be done through in-kind service. It's not just funding. Funding easier and cleaner, but a lot of times with a new facility, clearing, grubbing, grading, putting down base, things like that a lot of counties have the ability to do in-house, can make up the match for those facilities. So with that, I was just hoping to do one big comprehensive agreement to try and shore up everything so we can have good public voting access for the citizens of Jackson County and the citizens of the state of Alabama. Do y'all have any questions?
When we first come in, I would make, I have used the Mud Creek ramp a good bit, I understand the overflow conditions there. Do we have an estimate of the cost that would be involved with each of these projects and what the in-kind or share ratio or share cost would be?
Yes, sir. The projects that I talked about earlier at Mink Creek, the BB Comer, South Saudi, and Langston Road, we've already completed that, or we have the city of Scottsboro as a cooperating partner. So we don't need anything there. The lights at Langston Road we were talking about earlier, we'll cover the cost of having that installed. If you guys can cover the monthly lighting expenses, because that's the kind of stuff that we're not built to do.
And this is at Langston Road.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Is that what?
Correct, yes. Crossing the water treatment plant.
Okay. And
How many lights will you put in there?
What would we say, 4 there?
We were looking today and estimated probably 4.
So,
Might be able, depending on the reach and coverage that each light gives, we might only need 3. I would meet with Sand Mountain Electric on that, but we were estimating 4.
You know about what the cost may be per light?
Per month?
Per month, yeah.
Per month, it would be $40 to $50 a month maximum, according to Sand Mountain Electric. I met with them a few weeks ago.
That's total?
$50 a month.
Per light or per?
No,
Total?
for all.
Okay.
Yeah, for all. Which we already have lights at the Comer Bridge, or one light that we pay for at Comer Bridge, and they're actually, and I don't know how they got there or who put them there, but they've been there forever. But up at the existing Mud Creek ramp, we pay for 3 of those every month, and I think those range, depending on time of year, between $30 and $40.
Right.
so the pavilion at South Saudi then, is that covered by Langston?
Yes, sir. That was a big comprehensive project, actually. It was pretty neat. We partnered with the town of Langston and also an organization called the Union Sportsmen's Alliance. What they do is they train labor to become union members, and the Union Sportsmen's Alliance allows people to get the hours they need to become union members and gets that labor on projects that benefit fish and wildlife in some way, shape, or form. So we, the state, we poured the concrete slab, we set the posts, the town of Langston paid for the materials, and then the Union Sportsmen's Alliance, right now we're building the pavilion and providing the labor to build that. So we don't need anything. The only other project where we need help is the Mud Creek boat ramp. And depending on how big we go there, I'd like something for 25 to 50 boats in that range. And honestly, given a material estimate or a material cost right now is like pulling out of a particular needle out of a haystack. But I would guess $750,000, $1 million project somewhere in there. So in-kind match would probably be around 250,000-ish, if I had to guess. But again, that can be completed through all in-kind services. And I believe that the site prep work would cover the 25%. But whatever you guys are willing to contribute, if you want to do that, can also define the size of the project as well.
Okay.
Is that, you said across the bridge, is that on the same side or is that on the opposing side?
It's on the opposing side.
Okay.
So if you cross the bridge, going away from the boat ramp, it's on the left.
Okay.
Okay, and they've been there quite a bit. All right, understand. Any other maintenance sharing roles or any other items that we have? By the way, let me back up real quick. Does the 750K, does that cover just ramp, or does it also cover docking?
The cost, when I say the cost of building a facility at Mud Creek, I mean the entire thing.
So ramp
Adding a
and
pier, ramp,
everything.
parking lot, that's the cost.
Will that be a floating dock or will that be stationary?
That's a.
I would have to look at it based off of the amount of current right there. We could potentially do a floating pier. That's what it needs there with the fluctuation. As long as there's just not too much current that would damage the pier. You know, we have a in-house engineer. We design all our boat ramps. We design it in a way that it's gonna last long term.
I know the one that, on the Snodgrass Bridge on 117, it works perfect.
Yes, sir.
It's a well-built dock.
And we have had some requests from fishermen, boaters, that docks, if we could make them floating. I'm not saying I understand all the details of that, other than my use of floating dock as the water levels go up and down, become a little safer in trying to enter and exit boats.
Yes, sir. I would prefer floating piers.
Okay. Any other questions, comments?
And also, if there's anything else, any other projects, any boat ramps that the public has asked y'all about that we maintain, I, entertain that in this agreement as well. If there's any complaints y'all have heard of that I have not.
So let me ask one final question. If we have discussion to proceed with this, what are the steps needed? Is it an agreement?
Yes, sir, it would be an agreement. I'm guessing it would be an agreement where we would go ahead and enter into a maintenance agreement and then probably agree upon a cost that we want to shoot for, and probably say in the agreement sometime in the next 3 to 5 years, whenever our funds are available, is when construction has to begin by, pending regulatory permits and any TVA concurrence, anything else that we need to move forward with it. Because I have not begun any sort of design or permitting, given that the cooperating partner is the first step to get this ball rolling. But the next step would be to hone in on what we want to do, and then we could mold it from there.
Okay. I think we would probably have to take this up in other work sessions and have discussions about it.
Yes, sir.
More proceed.
Specs and diagrams and blueprints and.
Okay. Any other comments or questions?
Just concerns about having adequate trash collection, which I know that's something we've looked at, but maybe the possibility of adding some bathrooms, even if they're porta potties. I mean, is that something that we can look at to see what the feasibility of that is?
That would be bathrooms, I don't know. That's a question.
Which facilities? Is it?
Well, I mean, really, any of them, there's not, I mean, I guess at Mud Creek, you could use the restaurant if it's open, but, I mean, for the most part, we don't have bathrooms close to any of these ramps.
Yes, sir.
I mean, I know building a bathhouse at any of them would greatly raise the cost, but just something to consider as we go forward. Maybe the possibility of having some bathroom access. And I would like some kind of trash facility there that wouldn't be easily knocked over, kind of varmint proof. I don't think we need to make them bear proof, but something that we're not constantly having to pick up where it's just been tipped over. So maybe something along that line where voters will be inclined to, instead of dropping it in the river, they put it in something when they get out.
Yes. Yeah, we can certainly entertain a restroom into some sort of design. One negative to a restroom is it does open up the potential for a lot of loitering and stuff that you don't want going on at these boat ramps.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't install a lot of restrooms at our facilities, but in the right scenario, sometimes we will. So that's just something we have to keep in mind, that whenever you think you're doing something good, sometimes there's a negative effect.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean,
and loitering, vandalism, and then of course the maintenance that would be involved. And that's one of the things with the maintenance we do, which we're already doing now, but a lot of those, the time it takes to get out there takes as long, get out there and back takes as long as the actual maintenance.
And
So,
plus in the winter time, you gotta keep the heat, make sure it don't freeze. Also septic systems versus city sewer, which most of them be septic tanks.
so that's something to consider with restrooms as far as maintenance goes, because most of these things are not gonna be things we can go to every day or even every other day.
Well, like Commissioner McBride just pointed out, maybe a series of porta potties during the high traffic areas, just something that makes it more sanitary and more attractive to folks, so that they do have a more enjoyable time when they're there instead of.
I can check on some prices for porta potties.
Can y'all go ahead and move the hill grass away from the boat dump for us?
Yeah, there's a spray in there.
That discussion's coming.
That's possible.
Okay. If no further questions, we will, thank you very much for coming and being here today to explain this to us.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much for your time.
Next up is, as part of our discussion with the park, is opportunity for a contract for support of our Sportsman's Landing and use of Sportsman's Landing. So, Mr. Cotton?
Okay, yes, sir. Mr. Kevin Foster is here, and he is starting a new business venture later this spring. That will be for removal of aquatic vegetation, which around here lately is mostly that eelgrass we're talking about. What he'll be doing, he will have a specially built boat, something similar to this, which will harvest eelgrass and vegetation from around private owners from their property, their shoreline, their boat docks, their boat houses, things like that. So they would hire him to take this boat and harvest all that, how it accumulates and washes in. He would clean that out, and he would have a conveyor belt system. He would pull up to the shoreline, and that conveyor would take that vegetation from the boat onto a dump trailer, and then he would haul it off and dump it. And again, he would be doing this for private citizens who, like I say, want that hauled away from their shoreline or boat dock or whatever. What he has asked the county to consider is the dump trailer and the little conveyor that offloads from the boat to the dump trailer, that at times when it's not in use, that he'd be allowed to store it at Sportsman's Landing in the lot. And he has where's the picture?
The proposed location.
Here's a general picture here, and that would be stored right there in this corner off the end of the lot. I went out there with him and looked at that, and it's far out of the way of the boat ramp. It's good ways off from the boat ramp, and as you know, that's a pretty big area there, so plenty of room. In exchange for being able to store that at the Sportsman's Landing lot, he would provide cleanup for the boat ramp area there on a periodic basis as needed. All that. And if you've been out there lately, it's very, very badly needed, especially now probably with the water up.
And all the other boat ramps in Jackson County.
Well,
Can we get a discount on the other boat ramps?
But periodic, you mean you would keep the boat ramp area there clear of aquatic weeds and floating mats of eelgrass and such.
there it is.
Yeah.
As of now, but yes, that would be what he would do in exchange for parking over in the corner of the lot. He would do the cleaning for that ramp and that dock.
How many times a year would you need to do these services at the?
Well, I only live 2 blocks from that boat ramp, so my equipment wouldn't be there, but just during the day, I would haul it back to my property, after the day, but it would be through the week. possibly on weekends, depending on how busy, it is, so.
So you're parking while you're doing work
Right,
on the river?
right,
Okay.
yes. And I would remove it every afternoon.
And the agreement, again, is, you would harvest, now, by harvest, I understand that this harvest is down to about 5 feet.
5 foot, yes, I can cut 5 feet deep. So
Okay.
I'm not allowed by TDA to uproot any vegetation, and so I'll be able to keep it at least 5 foot.
How long does that normally stay down once you,
A couple months. I mean, it grows, I mean, it grows fairly fast, but, once you cut it 5 foot down, it's hard to see down 3 foot, so.
Right.
I'd keep it mowed down as much as possible.
Yeah, this is interesting. What would the liability be for us on something that we agree to be at our location? If something were to happen to us?
Vandalism or some sort.
The agreement, in my opinion, should include an indemnity agreement on farmers that we would not be responsible if Mr. Foster's trailer and stuff were damaged while it was there.
Unless it's one of us that does it.
Right.
But yeah,
No, don't put that in there, no.
that would be planned to be in the contract, that the liability for.
And what kind of period of time are you seeking here?
I should have, my boat beginning of June. So I should start beginning of June, roughly.
And on
And through.
a year by year, or what?
Yeah, I mean, every year, it's just a seasonal thing for the most part. April, usually start around April, and then work till about November, beginning of November, when it starts slowing down.
I guess it's more for Mr. Porter. Are we talking about an annual contract? Is that, okay,
Renewable contract.
okay.
And do you charge by the foot or by the amount that you remove, or how do you?
As far as cleaning up someone's boat dock, whatever. I called, there's a company out of Tuscaloosa, that's the closest company I know of that does this. There's a new company, I think, that's starting in Gunnersville this year, but they've got enough work down there to keep themselves, but, they're charging $2,500 a day to come in, which I'm not, they're traveling 3.5 hours with equipment, so, that cost to be cut quite a bit, but, mainly by the job. It depends on, I have to go see, and if they just want me to get floating vegetation instead of cutting stuff, then it'd be a different price, so.
Yeah, I think a lot of our ramps is mostly the eelgrass that's been cut out from all the cuts out on the main riverbank that's floating in, and that's where it's gathered at the dock. So I
Yeah.
you can pull your boat in, and when you pull it out, you pull, a couple tons of grass out with it.
It definitely helped with preventative boat maintenance
Can even
also.
see boat trailer.
Yeah, that's the case a lot of sportsman planting is what floats in rather than what, I mean, there is some, obviously some that grows, but there's a huge amount of it that just floats in off of that channel.
And that's a huge problem around the lake, for the, property owners and homeowners and boat docks and there.
So just to be clear, what you're asking for is the ability to set your dump trailer and conveyor up while you're working, not overnight, not
Yes, sir.
weekends.
Yeah,
Okay.
just during the day.
Any further questions?
Sounds like a good venture.
I would propose that we look at a contract, put together a contract. We would have to bring that back to the commission for consideration, and we could put it on the new business agenda for next week. Any issues with that?
So y'all.
It'll be a week after next, excuse me, so, but we will do that.
All right.
Okay?
Good.
Thank you. Next up, Public Works, discussion of Town of High Top resurfacing agreement.
Thank you, Chairman. Gentlemen, I just wanted to take a second and do some information sharing on some progress that's been made on an agreement with the town of High Top. Seeing that on the agenda probably comes as no surprise to you, as I know this commission has laid a lot of groundwork to prepare these conversations with the town. The agreement and format they are holding now to put in front of their council, and it's simple. And so I'd just like to take a second and go through what has been discussed at this point. Obviously, once they have reached their terms that they're in agreement with, we would be here to put that in front of you for your agreements or future changes or whatever they need. The agreement is fairly straightforward on High Top Circle and a connection road, and it's Parker Road. It's a very small connection that they were interested in pursuing resurfacing on. So the town is willing to put forth dollars to see this initiated and through, and they are interested in the work taking place this paving season. So the town is willing to pay $60,000 to award the contractor's equipment and labor costs for this project, and the county's responsibilities would be to prepare the road for paving, to haul the material and stockpile the material necessary aggregate for the resurfacing, and pay for the liquid asphalt for the resurfacing. So the county's portion is basically already budgeted in the funds that we have, particularly in our labor, equipment, material, and preparation costs. And then the other funds that I mentioned from the town would be contributed toward the project.
Mr. Campbell, I know you said that we've already budgeted these amounts for our responsibility, but what would that work out as far as percentage-wise, 50-50, if you calculated our material and our labor against what they're willing to pay? Any idea of what our percentage match would be?
Yeah, I think we're cost sharing. I mean, we're probably weighted a little heavier on that, and it all depends on preparation. The town was interested in widening, if possible, particularly on the north end. At quick look, without detailed study of the drainage structures that exist, there are some water meters that are near the edge of pavement, particularly on the south end, that I think would be a challenge on widening. However, the north end, maybe there's some possibilities there. So to answer your question, it really depends on the preparation and the level of that. But I think we're approaching near mid ground here on sharing costs.
I had the chance to visit and ride with Mr. Thackerson up there. One of the points that he was making is they have a new church in High Top, and a congregation, which certainly on certain days of the week when they're having services, they get a pretty high volume of traffic on that road. And the road is starting to need some work, clearly. I think it's great that the town is willing to partner with us on this. They get their Rebuild Alabama dollars, and it can only go for road surface. And I think ITOP has less than 2 miles of road, so they're able to accumulate dollars every year. I think they've saved that up for this reason.
Cooperative effort and working together with the towns. Mm-hmm. Maybe this is a model that can carry forward. And just for the record, I've been corresponding with Mr. Clark, the town mayor. So that they have the agreement in their possession, and as soon as we have that in return, I'll make sure to bring it forward.
So, I'm sorry.
It's okay. The purpose of my discussion tonight, it may seem a little preliminary, but I wanted to have this discussion so that we can expedite the process once things are approved on their end, and we can get it in front of this body as soon as possible.
What would be the timing in your estimation for this?
As I understand it, he was expecting some level of approval this week. So I believe in their meeting that they were going to have this week, he was hopeful that he would see positive results.
Okay, and we would be able to bring it back to the commission as new business next meeting? Everybody okay with that? Okay. I think they had mentioned to me they had a
a large event one week in July at the church. So they had requested us trying, if possible, schedule around that, either get it done before or after. They said if we had to be doing it during, that was fine. They would tolerate whatever delays, but they had made that request to me. I don't know if we voiced that timeline to you.
We can work with that. We'll do our very best to accommodate their schedule.
Okay.
Thank you,
Any
gentlemen.
other questions? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, John.
Next, we'll move to commission agenda items. We do have a letter of request from the city of Stevenson for some funding, request for park at the boat ramp on State Road 117. In your packet is a letter signed by Mayor Steele requesting funding in the amount of $23,120 plus labor. And they have forwarded, which is an attachment, the enhancements that would be part of this part. The purpose of this is they are also involved as one of the river cities in our county program for Tennessee River Line, and they would upgrade that boat dock and ramp with this part to make it a stop for those people that are participating in kayaking activities and other activities associated with Tennessee River Line, or for individuals who are just using the boat ramp for boating activities. So you see their plan of use, the materials, the work that would be done for this. So, that is a request from Mayor Steele for the city of Stevenson. Again, this would come out of our industrial and economic development-based funding activity. Last meeting, we had $220,000 in that account. We did approve $25K for the city of Bridgeport for a very similar activity. This is a request for $23,000. Any comments or discussion?
Commissioner Rich, help me out here. Where are they talking about? Inside the park?
Yeah, no, it's Highway 117, Snodgrass Bridge on the river.
Okay, all right. That's where I was confused.
Yeah. Yeah, Highway 117.
At the last meeting, we had discussed possibly creating a grant process for those dollars. If we do this amount, that's pretty close to what we said we were going to do annually. Just wanted to bring that up. If that's what we decide to do, then we won't have any dollars left to do a grant process next year like we had planned on.
And both of these requests come in about the same time, but there was a little computer malfunction on something.
I do. For all you grant writers out there, I really appreciate Stevenson's budget items, detailed requests, pictures. I mean, I know we don't have a criteria set for these requests, but it is an impressive request.
The only additional thing I would like to see in possible future requests would be what kind of financial impact might, this project would bring to the city.
Yeah, and I think that was part of the discussion we had at our last meeting. That it would be something we would want to consider in the grant.
I do think it would be wise for us to come up with some procedures and expectations and have a set grant application and time frame, and so that, because if we don't, then then people aren't gonna know an appropriate time frame of when to apply for and how to apply for, and it's just gonna be, well, who comes first and this, that, and the other, and that's not really a fair way to do it.
I mean, is everyone across the county aware of this availability for their towns? Pisgah section,
I'm not sure about that.
that's what I was wondering.
But if we set up a grant process, then we will make that,
Send an invitation to every municipality.
And that's probably what's happening now, just nobody really knows about it.
I would propose then that maybe in next work session or second work session, we have a discussion about how to set up a grant process for this with grant timing for use of these funds. I think, Commissioner Venable made the comment last time that some folks who were involved in setting this fund up thought that this fund could grow in value over time for bigger grant and use opportunities. But there are going to be times, I believe, where there are going to be opportunities like this that could have an impact, and so a small amount of funds could have a positive impact on the community. So I think the grant process is a very good idea.
And also, AJ, I heard them say that they might be interested in putting a restroom there, because there's plenty of room to do that. Of course, they'd have to do all the.
I mean, now that I know where it is, I mean, this is a beautiful spot that could be a destination more than just a boat ramp. With some work there, so glad to see they're working on some plans there.
So if okay with everybody, I'll schedule at one of our meetings, part of the work session, to have a discussion about grant process that we'll put on the agenda. And all of us can do some thinking prior to that too.
Okay.
Everybody okay with that? Okay. Next up, polling place compliance. Is everybody, some I believe we received a letter, not only us, but the city of Scottsboro received a letter, and a number of other folks did, about concerns with ADA compliance at polling places, and particularly given the elections that are coming up. It suggested that we were not completely compliant. And I will just say that action could be taken. So we have had a number of discussions with Mr. Manning, probate, who has a lot of responsibility with our election process. Also our maintenance director, Mr. Gann, and our county attorney. The recommendation or discussion that we had is that number one, polling places are set for this coming election. We would not be able to change polling locations, nor would the citizens of this county probably entertain changing polling locations. Also, as everyone believes, in looking historically, we have never had an ADA complaint regarding any of our polling locations. However, it is prudent that we would take a survey of all of our polling locations to determine if we do have any ADA compliance issues. Our maintenance director has a list of requirements for polling locations. He will be in the process. What we would propose to do is that he would survey the polling locations, make a list of those things that we are short on in being compliant, determine those that we can do quick adjustments, and the ADA compliance guidelines allow for that. But there may also be some that we would have to take into consideration as we move forward. At least we would have a list of any compliance issues that we could then make determinations of how we would handle those beyond this election cycle. So let me open the floor to Mr. Manning and Mr. Porter.
Right off the top of my head, I can think of one place where I think will be needed, a fix will be needed, and I think it's able to be done. It will be a ramp You know, we got a couple of poles, we got some, locations, one of them that I know in particular, that only has steps leading up into it. So, we can purchase a portable ramp to make that compliant for this time. I can't, I think that's a wonderful idea, with, Colby doing that, going around with a list to see, it's been a lot of years since I've been to all of them. So I think somebody putting fresh eyes on it, I think that's what Mr. Porter recommended doing, so that you actually have a list to work on. But right off the top of my head, I know there's gonna be some issues, but that's the one that really comes off, you know, right now that I do know. So there's gonna be some things like that that you're gonna need to address for this cycle. But, those things you can buy, you know, of course, you all know as well as I do, there's a certain height and length, you know, for a ramp. So, we'll need to do those kind of things like that.
The one that you're thinking about, Mr. Manning, is it, I mean, I know we have a mixture of fire halls and country stores and churches and, you know, several different places we have our polling places at. Is it a privately owned structure?
Yeah, that goes to my question, how much will we be able to do and suggest?
Well, and that's why with this one, it's a private owned facility, so we can buy the portable aluminum fold out ramp. I mean, they make those, supply companies actually make those for, ADA compliance. So we're not building a ramp at their place that we're gonna leave. It's something that we can put down. And to be honest with you, and Colby even mentioned this, they'll need to go pick that thing up when the poles close. Because if it's something that's movable, if it's aluminum, that thing will need to be picked up that night. So no, it is a private owned place, and so that is a temporary fix and something that we can put and retrieve.
This will be something we'll be purchasing.
Yes,
It'll definitely have to be picked up overnight.
yes.
It'll be at your local salvage yard.
Yeah, oh. Yeah, you can find it there.
Okay.
And quite likely there's gonna be other issues that Colby finds.
Yeah.
And again, if you can get this list, we can get through this cycle, then we got a year to address them however you need to address them.
So are we gonna be in compliance by saying that we're gonna be in compliance?
I think that's Mr. Porter's question right there.
I think the process that has been started is the appropriate response to, because we basically handle this on an ad hoc basis from in the past, and so this will give us a fresh look at what is it that we do need to do. And I think so long as we have if we find an issue and have a plan to fix that issue, we should be fine. I don't think it'll be a problem. And as Mr. Nance says, and Mr. Manning talked about before, to my knowledge, we've never had an ADA complaint at any polling place. So.
Until now.
Until
now.
Well, we don't have a complaint. We don't have a complaint yet. So.
Just generic language, I guess.
Yeah, correct. We have a question as to whether or not we have some compliance issues, and we'll address those as needed.
Okay, any further questions? So we will proceed with our maintenance director, surveying each of our polling places and bring forward a list of any issues that we may have with compliance. Next, would like to ask Commissioner Rich to discuss the legislative report from ACCA.
Yes, the Senate passed a bill aiding in the local expansion of broadband services in underserved areas. The Senate passed Senate Bill 125, which is a proposed amendment to Alabama's Constitution on February 10th, and sent the bill to the House of Representatives for its consideration. If approved by the House and the Governor in the same exact form, the bill's proposal will be placed in November's ballot for consideration by Alabama voters. If approved by the public, this will be constitutional amendment will be granted Grant counties and multiple municipalities across Alabama to authority to financially partner with the internet service providers to expand residents' access to broadband. So that's a good start there. Also, House passage of a bill helping address national mental health crisis in county jails. House of Representatives passed Bill 70 on February 9th and sent the bill to the Senate for its consideration. If approved by the Senate and the governor in exact same form, the bill will be a positive step toward addressing the growing number of individuals across the nation who are suffering from mental illness and incarcerated in a county jail. Especially the bill will allow our local law enforcement to partner with our local community health officer to connect individuals who pose a real and imminent threat to themselves and others with much needed medical evaluation and possible treatment. And finally, so far the House passes a bill providing the county MA offices with better access to federal funding. House of Representative bills passed Bill 3 on February 10th and sent the bill to the Senate and for its consideration if approved by the Senate and the governor in the exact same form. The bill will allow our emergency management professionals to be statutorily recognized for the public safety services they perform and every day subsequently provide our emergency management departments with better access to funding opportunities. And that's all we've got so far. Next month there'll be another report.
Okay, Commissioner Rich, thank you. Any questions? If not, next, discussion about an opportunity for a purchasing cooperative.
Thank you, Commissioners. You may or may not be aware, we wrote a grant under the Burn Jag program for law enforcement equipment. We received $24,000 recently. Of course, it's done through the commission as a governing body for the sheriff's office. And it was brought to my attention that we can purchase, the grant is for purchasing and upgrading bulletproof vests. We have been talking to several vendors, one of which has advised us that if we go through what we call a buy board. It's called buy board. It's a national vendors cooperative. We can probably get them cheaper even than they would be bidded for. It was my understanding, according to speaking with them, that the bid process would not be necessary if we went through that. Mr. Manning contacted the auditor's office and they advised him that that was true, that we could go through that particular program to purchase these vests and that it could very likely be cheaper than even bidding them. So we would request that the commission allow Mr. Nance or Mr. Manning, whoever it may be, to sign up for that program and that we would utilize that for this grant and administrating this grant.
Okay, any questions? Is there an annual cost to be a member?
Oh, it's free.
When does this need to happen?
As soon as possible. The grant has to be spent, I think, by June. We just got awarded, I think, 2 weeks ago. We were told we were awarded. I think we did the final paperwork last week with Mr. Nance and Mr. Manning to receive that grant. We will be reimbursed for up to $24,000 on these vests. We believe it's going to cost a little more than that, which we're certainly, as the sheriff's office, we're certainly going to take care of any excess from the purchase of these vests. But we believe by going through this cooperative, which started in Texas, but is now expanded to be a nationwide program. One of our main distributors that we purchase these things from, generally, most of our law enforcement equipment is a part of that, is a vendor in that. And we would be checking with them for the price on the vests.
So you would be ready to go, you just need the ability to purchase these?
Yes. And it would take a short time because we'd have to get these fitted for the officers and things. They have somewhat of a fitting process for those that they make sure they fit the individual officers.
But,
Sooner the better.
Yeah,
Absolutely, yes.
I don't want to even think about the loss of life on
Something we need to vote on today.
a delay.
If at all possible, it'd be nice if you could. That way we could get the ball rolling on these things. I don't know how long it'll take to get them fitted and made and sent to us. We just have to have the purchase made by, I think, June.
So, Mr. Porter, do we have confidence that we can use something like this in lieu of the bid loans?
I'm not sure about this particular cooperative. If the auditor state auditor says it has been approved, then certainly there are a number of cooperatives that you can go through that have been approved already. And this may be one of them, but
So would there be an approved list, or is that something that we need to get approval from the auditor so that we know that?
I think
apparently Mr. Manning has checked with, I don't know how to talk to him, so I don't know.
You may have I don't know if you have that letter in front of you from the auditor, I'm not sure if you do or not. I wish Mr. Manning was here because he's the one that actually contacted them.
By board purchasing cooperative?
Yes.
Okay.
But not the email or
I
letter.
don't have a letter, it just is about the cooperative. As a general rule, purchasing cooperatives are an acceptable way to purchase public, to use public funds to purchase material and equipment. I can't speak to this particular one because I've looked at it, but that is generally a way to expedite the process. And Mr. Manning, if he has a letter from them, from the state auditor saying that this particular cooperative has been approved, then that's really all you need.
Because to me, if we're not violating the bid law, I don't know why we wouldn't try to get this done ASAP. So.
If you want to pursue it tonight, if that's what I'm hearing, my suggestion would be that you approve it, conditioned upon
making sure.
by board having been approved by the state auditor's office. Then you can go forward.
Okay.
And it would be our hope that if this is approved and we're allowed to use this, that we use it for other equipment also.
There are a lot of benefits to these cooperatives because they end up, you get a better price for good quality because they're able to buy in bulk, much greater bulks, and that is the benefit of what they've done.
I know our vendors advised us there are numerous counties in the state of Alabama that utilize buy board.
Okay.
Any around local, close to us?
I don't have the specific names, I can get those.
So,
I believe
As the chairman, I would make a motion to set the rules aside on this.
okay, I was about to head there. So we have a motion.
I'll second.
To vote on this. We have a second. All in favor, say aye. Motion carries. At this time, if I can get a motion that we will approve the use of the buy board cooperative if it has been approved by
State
The
auditor.
state auditor.
the state auditor.
I make that motion with the contingency that it is approved by the state auditor.
Okay, we
And I'll
have a
second
motion.
I'll
Do we have a
second.
second?
I'm a second.
We do have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And we will get with our county administrator, Mr. Manning, and we will make sure of this, and so we will move forward with the utilization of buy board. Okay, next on the agenda is listed Liberty Lane roofing bid. At this time, I would propose that we take a short executive session to discuss good name and character. And I would believe that would take us about 20 minutes, no more, and then we will come back into open session. So do I have a motion to move to executive session to discuss good name and character?
I'll make a motion. I'll second.
Motion. We have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.